Hey everybody, welcome back to Video Game. So, taking on a fun, exciting, and unexpected episode for you guys this evening as I am playing Project R, which is San Francisco Rush, the Rock Alcatraz edition, the arcade CHD and sound ROMs being recompiled into a Windows executable with so many different graphical improvements and quality of life improvements. And when I say I feel like a complete idiot, I 100% mean it, because I had absolutely no idea this thing existed. I was talking to a friend on Discord and asked what he'd been playing recently, and he responded back a lot of Project R. When I asked what is Project R, he told me it's San Francisco Rush, the Rock Alcatraz edition, basically being reconfigured to run in Windows with better graphics, a ton of different steering wheel support, and overall quality of life improvements. My basic response was, hold the hell up, rewind a little bit, Project R what? And here it is. Apparently this came out around August of last year and was updated just before Christmas of 2024, and I didn't know a damn thing about it. I am so disappointed but so excited to talk about it now, because I do consider San Francisco Rush the best arcade racing game ever made by a company not called Sega. Before we get too far involved though, do me a huge favor down below, hit like and subscribe and ring that notification bell, definitely helps us out. And if you feel so inclined and want to support the channel, we have a Patreon link down below as well. But the Project R team has absolutely pulled off a miracle here, in my opinion. I know I am biased because I absolutely love San Francisco Rush, but this thing just 100% works and it's not even finished. All you do is download the program files and you give it the CHD from MAME as well as the sound ROMs from the zipped ROM file, and then it basically rebuilds those and gives you an executable to play San Francisco Rush on your PC. You can play this in any aspect ratio you want. By default, I have ultra wide monitors, so I put this in windowed mode at 1920 by 1080, but it was an absolute trip just to see the game running on my ultra wide monitor. And while MAME does emulate this game and it does it very effectively, this hands down is now the best way to play San Francisco Rush of any platform around. I am just absolutely impressed with what the developers have done here. This game is running at a locked 60 frames per second. All of the texture work looks incredible. I didn't have any crashes or bugs my entire time playing the game. I just sat down and played San Francisco Rush like I would on an arcade cabinet or on MAME or any other platform, without ever thinking about what was going on in the background or the fact that this isn't even completed yet. And I will say the highest of high marks, the entire physics system here feels absolutely identical to what it would feel like in the arcade original. And that's because it is using the arcade original files. I do have a steering wheel for this, and it does have haptic feedback as well, so it's an absolutely awesome experience going ahead and playing this with a wheel and pedal combo like I had an actual San Francisco Rush cabinet in front of me. And when I say they've got a ton of different settings in here, I 100% mean it. You can go ahead and adjust all of the gameplay to however you want. For captures, I usually make it the easiest so I have extra time and I'm not restarting everything. You can change your car's color, do everything about showing damage, you can change the difficulty in every single course. You can absolutely just articulate this thing to your heart's content, and every single option is going to give you a different description as to show you exactly what's going on. So if you want just enough time to be able to get around the courses for a capture, you can go ahead and toggle everything. It's basically taking the arcade test menu and defaulted it more to a graphical user interface. And the overall analog adjustments here are better than some retail arcade racing games I've seen come out in the last few years, both on PC and on console. You have so much reconfiguration of your buttons, you can remap anything you want, you can play this game to your heart's content in any way, shape, or form, and it just works. And you'll see here I am in windowed mode just so I didn't get that ultra wide capture. And I love that the developers gave us all of these different options to articulate the visual image however we want, including anti-aliasing, MSAA filtering, but none of these options, none of these quality of life improvements would be worth anything if this didn't play like the San Francisco Rush I've loved since the first time I saw it in arcades. And that's the best part about this. This is just the game I know, love, and remember, made easier to play and enjoy on my PC, because I do have the arcade board and I've got a custom wheel and pedal set that I take out and set up when I want to play the game. But trust me, it takes longer to set the board up than it does to actually enjoy the gameplay experience. And while MAME is absolutely spectacular, my default way to play this game is now going to be on this PC version. The best part is, too, compared to the arcade board or MAME, the sound is even better than I remember it, a lot clearer. So go ahead and listen for 45 seconds and I'll come back and talk more about just how good Project R is and why you need to play it. That's the San Francisco Rush music and sound effects that we all remember, but I would say they just sound better coming out of Project R, because Atari and Midway 3D boards, because they did share a lot of hardware in common. I do have a lot in my collection. I've never considered them to have very good sound quality. They're oftentimes muffled, they have a lot of bass, and sometimes that bass and overall audio balance can just kind of get in the way of hearing the soundtrack, but the audio balancing here in Project R is the best I've ever heard this game sound, and that is definitely another improvement. But visually, this thing is just an absolute feast. The textures have definitely been up-resed a little bit here, but it still has that 3D effects look from back in the day, because Atari and Midway used a ton of different 3D effects chips, and they just always had a certain look to them. The voodoo cards and everything else from 3D effects look slightly different in 3D than anything else that came before it, and you can definitely still tell that in the build, and those shortcuts sometimes can be absolutely brutal. They're basically making you race perfectly or else you are going to die. But again, that is the great thing. So much of what San Francisco Rush is the physics system. The cars have a weight and a feel to them that definitely is completely unrealistic compared to any car you've ever driven in your life, but that's what happens in San Francisco Rush. The cars have a certain feel and weight to them that's completely, again, not like real life, but it does have that vibe going that you know you're playing San Francisco Rush. The developers could have done half the work on the overall quality of life adjustments and graphical improvements so long as they kept that physics system the same, and I would have been a very happy San Francisco Rush fan, but the best part is they did both, and it just comes across. And again, I just love how this game looks. It's bright, it's cheery, it's over the top, it has some of the biggest jumps in any arcade racing game you're going to ever play, and I still remember the first time I walked into my local arcade, the Dream Machine, when I was a teenager, and I saw this game, and I'm like, what in the hell, San Francisco Rush? Threw some quarters in, fell in love, and I've been coming back to it ever since. And I still think Rush the Rock Alcatraz Edition is the best version of the game, and I love that you even have an options menu here as well, where you can kind of just adjust things to your heart's content within a race. Just be aware that you can't quit a race, you have to hit escape, and then go ahead and quit the race from there. You can't pause the game, because of course it is an arcade game. That is one limitation, but it makes sense because you can't actually pause in an arcade cabinet. So other than that, and honestly, I'm appreciative that they don't have it pausing. This thing is just a 10 out of 10 as far as remastering a game, recompiling a game, or however they did it to a modern platform. And I would say if you've never played San Francisco Rush before, you're going to enjoy this version even more, not just because it's more modernized, but there's a ton of different shortcuts in this game. And on the arcade original, or even MAME, some of the blur, because it was a very old board that could only do standard definition, will kind of obscure some of the shortcuts. Some of them are going to be completely obvious, but others, like this jump under this truck here, you might miss because you couldn't see it until it was too late. So having improved visual clarity and even a bigger draw distance if you want it compared to the arcade original is going to let you have more fun with the game. And trust me, this game is just straight up some of the most fun you can have when it comes to arcade racing games not made by Sega. San Francisco Rush is definitely one of those games at least once, twice a year for the rest of my life. I'm definitely going to load it up and play it, and now I don't even know if I'm going to take my arcade board out unless I want to see that big giant hunk of silicon in front of me to get the vibes. One more soundtrack sample, because again, it just sounds so good coming out of Project R. 35 seconds, I'll come back and tell you what I hope to see from the project in the future. Finally, you can hear the lyrics in the game without the actual sound effects kind of drowning them out like you do on the arcade cabinet. Now, these are some big requests, and I doubt they'll ever get made, and I totally understand why, but the two things I would love to see are as follows. I'd love to see VR helmet support, just to be able to take these gigantic jumps in VR, even though I'm pretty sure I would get motion sick in about minute 1. The second thing is, and I know it's on a different platform, it is probably a heavy lift, and again, don't expect it whatsoever, I would love to see Rush 2049, the arcade original version, brought into Project R as well, because now that I've gotten a taste of what San Francisco Rush can be like when it is redone like this, I want every single Rush release from the arcades available to play at any moment in time. And trust me, I'm not being demanding, I'm just talking about a perfect world. If all they ever do is this, I'll be a very happy person. And I don't know how I missed this one, guys. Honestly, it's the type of thing that I would have talked about the minute it came out, but someone told me about it. Project R is out, and I will leave a link to the website below. But we're done, I'm quitting the race, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye-bye.